My stepdaughter vows to ruin my life. She leaves town, and 2 days later, I'm arrested. No one believes me, but the shocking truth eventually emerges. If someone had told me the events of the past 10 months would happen, I would have called them a horrible liar. I thought my family was perfect, but I've learned it was far from that. There's a very thin line between peace and chaos, love and hate. I'm a 49-year-old man, married to a 45-year-old woman. We have 2 children together, and she has 1 daughter from her previous relationship, making me a stepfather of 3. As a stepdad, I had always tried to do right by my stepdaughter, supporting her and being a positive role model in her life. But everything changed when she said these words to me. I never want to see your face again, and I'm going to ruin your life. I was stunned. I had no idea what could have triggered such an extreme reaction. I always believed we had a decent relationship. I tried reaching out to her, desperate to understand what had gone wrong, but she refused to talk. Without a single explanation, she packed her bags and left town. I was confused and worried, as I hadn't even realized we were in conflict. Her tone of resentment left me devastated, but I decided to give her space. 2 days later, my nightmare began. My sister-in-law called with shocking news. The police were on their way to arrest me. She said I was accused of raping my stepdaughter. I was speechless, my mind racing with panic. I couldn't believe what was happening. My reputation was being dragged through the mud. My family was falling apart, and I felt like I had lost everything. My wife and family believed her accusations without giving me a chance to explain. My wife, deeply disappointed, refused to hear me out. She called the police, and I was arrested. After about a week, I managed to get bail. Everything felt surreal. My life was crumbling, and I couldn't comprehend why my stepdaughter would make such a false allegation. My wife moved out, taking refuge in her own home, and ignored all my attempts to contact her. Her friends were no better. They berated me, calling me horrible names, and warned me not to contact them again. One even told me to expect divorce papers soon, claiming that was what I deserved. My children in college were the only ones who spoke to me. My son said he believed me, but insisted I fix things quickly. Overwhelmed with anger and desperation, I resolved to clear my name. I started gathering evidence to prove my innocence. I contacted my stepdaughter's boyfriend and best friend, hoping for insights, but they had little to offer. Her best friend, while polite, wasn't helpful, which I expected given her loyalty to my stepdaughter. For months, I faced a grueling legal process, fighting to prove my innocence. I endured sleepless nights and public humiliation, determined to restore my reputation. Then, finally, a breakthrough came. Out of guilt, my stepdaughter's best friend reached out to me. She admitted she couldn't keep the truth hidden any longer. She revealed that my stepdaughter had fabricated the accusations out of anger. It all started as a joke, but spiraled out of control. My stepdaughter was upset because I and her mother had stopped giving her large sums of money to fund her extravagant lifestyle. We believed it was time for her to learn financial responsibility. My wife and I had always been generous with her, giving her monthly allowances most people could only dream of. But our decision to cut back led her to lash out in a way I could never have imagined. Despite the truth from her best friend, I knew many wouldn't believe me. People would assume I had bribed her to lie. Still, I had to act. Together, we devised a plan to record a conversation between my stepdaughter and her best friend, hoping to catch her admitting the truth. It worked. During a casual night out, my stepdaughter boasted about her life. She admitted she'd doubled her allowance and gloated about her plan to get rid of me, accusing me of marrying her mother only for wealth. That recording was a turning point. My lawyer advised digging deeper into my stepdaughter's past, which revealed a history of manipulative behavior. She had pulled similar stunts before. Armed with this evidence, we took the case to court. On the day of the trial, I was a bundle of nerves but determined to clear my name. The courtroom was packed, including my family and my stepdaughter's friends. As I entered the room, I could feel the disdainful glares fixed on me. It was evident they still clung to the belief that I was guilty, their presence solely a gesture of support for Sarah. My heart shattered when I caught sight of my wife. Her expression betrayed disbelief and resentment. Convinced of my culpability and furious over what she thought I had done to her daughter, the trial commenced, and the atmosphere was tense. The prosecution presented their arguments with vigor, determined to portray me as a villain. However, my legal team was equally resolute in proving my innocence. They showcased compelling evidence, witness testimonies, and even the recording made by my stepdaughter's closest friend. It became apparent that my stepdaughter had orchestrated the entire scheme, using her friend as a pawn to execute her vindictive plan. The jury deliberated for what felt like an eternity. When they finally returned with a verdict, my breath hitched. "We find the defendant not guilty," the judge announced, and an overwhelming wave of relief washed over me. My name was cleared, and I had been exonerated. I glanced at my stepdaughter and her family, noting the shock and dismay etched across their faces. They had lost, and I had prevailed. Yet, I did not feel triumphant. The cost of their deceit was too high. I had lost my family, my wife, and my reputation, all destroyed by manipulation and lies. Though the court had declared my innocence, the damage was done. Some still doubted me, but that was their issue to grapple with. My stepdaughter had not anticipated this outcome, and the power dynamics shifted dramatically. I resolved to ensure she faced the consequences of her actions, either cutting her off entirely or drastically reducing the privileges she once enjoyed. I wouldn't let her walk away unscathed after wreaking havoc on my life. My wife was enraged, but more than that, she was deeply hurt. She struggled to reconcile the fact that her daughter was capable of such malice. When she came to apologize, guilt and shame shadowed her every word. However, things were irreparably changed. Trust had been shattered, and I could no longer have faith in our relationship. Though her apology was sincere, I realized that normalcy was unattainable. My stepdaughter's actions had fractured our marriage beyond repair, and I had no choice but to accept that truth. Tension simmered between us. Arguments became frequent, and the one strong bond we shared unraveled. Eventually, I reached the conclusion that trying to mend the broken pieces was futile. I walked away, choosing to let go of the past and move forward. In the end, while the court declared me innocent, my stepdaughter had effectively succeeded in breaking our family apart. Though I would rebuild my life, the scars of this ordeal would remain a reminder of the betrayal I endured.